Welcome, friends, to the world's largest graveyard, and today we will be discussing Tier 5 of the Iceberg that Bones and I made. Before we dive in, please like this video so I don't have to dive into a brine pool. And without further ado, let's jump in. The Bimini Road is located off the coast of the Bahamas. They are a roughly 0.8 mile stretch of long limestone rectangles that have been carbon dated to anywhere between 2,700 years old to 3,500 years old. This is so interesting to me because science can't tell if these are man-made or somehow naturally occurring. At first glance, you would just assume they're man-made because of how well cut they are, but there are no chisel marks, so we can't even be sure of that. Many theories about the road exist. Some think it was supposed to be some sort of foundation for a structure long forgotten, and some say it's a road to Atlantis. The Bimini Road is a perfect example of something that deserves to be on this iceberg because we have no idea why it's there or even how it was made. Another thing that we know nothing about is the Stronsay Beast is another globster on this list, but this one has no conclusion. In 1808 on Stronsay Island off the coast of Scotland, a 55-foot long but only about 4-foot wide serpentine creature was found washed ashore on the coast. It was decomposed and missing part of its tail. It also had 6 wing-like appendages. 2 scientists had a good look at this thing and came up with 2 completely opposite opinions. John Barclay believed that this was a new species of giant sea serpent that had yet to be recorded based on the evidence he found and what the locals had said to him. Everett Home, on the other hand, had seen the beast and believed it to be a basking shark that had greatly deteriorated. Later, many scientists believe Home to be correct. The issue I have with this is that a large basking shark is only about 25 feet long, so not even half the size of the beast. These globsters seriously freak me out. How things this large can be out there and we know nothing about them is really spooky. Speaking of things that couldn't be identified, purple orbs. A lot of stories on this iceberg have been older, but this one is definitely the newest, because in 2016, scientists discovered a bright purple orb floating 5,300 feet below the surface. The orb is only about 2 inches long. This weird brain-looking purple thing to this day has not been identified. They believe it's some kind of mollusk, but no mollusk like it has ever been seen before. This one's a little bit anticlimactic, but hopefully the mystery gets solved and we can make a more in-depth video about it. Another mystery science can't figure out is blue whale sounds. All around the world, for the last several years, scientists have noted that blue whales are making lower and lower pitch sounds, and scientists have no clue why. Theories range from noise pollution to large changes in population or even a new mating technique. Once again, it's another ongoing story with no satisfying conclusion. But I think I would change my tune after our next subject. The 1968 submarine disappearances. In 1968, not 1, not 2, but 4 submarines went missing. The first of these was the INS Dakar, which went missing off the coast of England in January. The wreckage wasn't found until nearly 30 years later, in 1999. 69 men were lost. 2 days later, off the southern coast of France, almost the exact same thing happened to the Minerva, but this one wasn't found until nearly 50 years later in 2019. 45 men were lost that day. Then, in March, the Soviet craft K-129 went missing, and curiously enough, the Soviets quickly gave up on the search. But the CIA believed it had classified documents and decided to search and found it in August of the same year. And last and most interesting is the USS Scorpion. This was an American sub that was supposed to be doing surveillance on a Soviet Union submarine. The last message sent by the sub said it had found another vessel and would be tailing it. The craft has never been heard from again, and due to the nuclear material on the sub, its wreckage site is a radioactive zone. There's some really good theories for this one, and at some point Bones and I will make an entire video about these subs, diving into all the theories and situations they could have encountered. Maybe a reason for these disappearances is upsweep. In August of 1991, a sound was heard all throughout the Pacific Ocean. It's a long, upsweeping sound where the source is unknown, but it's loud enough to be heard from one end of the Pacific to the other. Oddly enough, it is a seasonal sound that gets louder in the spring and fall, but quieter in the winter and summer. Scientists are unsure why the sound changes based on the seasons. Another interesting tidbit is that every year since we've discovered it, it has gotten progressively quieter. Scientists believe it's an underground volcano making the noise, but scientists can't be sure. Well, I'm no scientist, so I'm sure that it's just a sleeping leviathan snoring, and when it wakes up, we are all going to be spooked. If the upsweep had a baby, though, it would definitely be the Montauk Monster. In 2008, 4 friends were looking for a spot to sit on the beautiful beaches of Rhinestein Estate Park, where one of them spotted what was a weird-looking creature. So they walked up, and upon further explanation, none of them could tell what they were looking at, so they took a picture. Many speculations have been made about the monster, from it being a turtle to a rodent, a dog, a coyote, a sheep, and even a raccoon. But all of these have different issues with them, and by the time a cryptozoologist was able to come look at the monster, it had disappeared. Once again, many rumors about his disappearance range from theft to washed away to quickly decomposed to a full-blown government cover-up. One of the more interesting things about this is the creature was reported to have no blood, and it was found very close to Plum Island, which is an animal disease research center. A few experts say it is clearly a raccoon in a state of decomposition from being in the ocean for so long. But the problem with that is its legs appear to be too long to be a raccoon. I guess we may never know what the Montauk Monster was or why the government definitely covered it up. But another thing the government definitely covered up was the U-28 monster. On July 31st, a man with a name and a title that is entirely too long, Kapitän Leutnant Friar George Gunther von Forstner, was the captain of the U-28, one of the most successful subs in World War I. In its 4-year career, the U-28 sunk 40 vessels. One of those vessels was the SS Iberian. The Iberian was a merchant steamer that was headed for Boston before being sunk by Kapitän Leutnant Friar George Gunther von Forstner. The Iberian sunk stern first with the bow aiming directly into the air. Kapitän Leutnant Friar George Gunther von Forstner recounts the events as follows. After about 25 seconds, there was a violent explosion which shot debris out of the water. Amongst the debris was a giant aquatic animal who was shot about 8 feet out of the water. Kapitän Leutnant Friar George Gunther von Forstner and 6 other crew, including officers, the chief engineer, and the helmsman, witnessed the creature. None of the crew could identify the creature, but all agreed that it was about 6 feet long with 4 webbed-like feet, with a long pointed head and tail. They all agreed that it looked like an aquatic crocodile. Upon landing, it sank after about 15 seconds, and the crew was unable to photograph it. Kapitän Leutnant Friar George Gunther von Forstner didn't report the incident until after the war, which his detractors use against him, but he stated that it simply was not important during wartime. Detractors will also cite that none of the crew ever confirmed it, but none of the men made it through the war except for Kapitän Leutnant Friar George Gunther von Forstner. 5 experienced seamen couldn't identify this monster, and it makes one wonder what is hiding in the depths of the world's largest graveyard. Thank you for watching Tier 5. If you liked this video, please watch our other tiers. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this with a friend who would date a purple orb. And if you don't subscribe, I will not feed bones until next video. This has been the world's largest graveyard, and remember, stay safe out there, friends.